Good morning and welcome to the second edition of our Myndlace Relace series. And today we're having a very special person. Actually, everyone who comes in here is special. So, of course, this is a very special individual. And I would love to introduce her. So, I'll only tell you a few things about her. She is a co founder of a wonderful company, Rocket 50, who caters to um, experienced individuals who are just finishing with their work life and graduating into the world of retirement, but then into a whole new world, which our company helps them navigate. So, without further ado, I would love to bring to you or introduce to you Mari Jerusalem. Mari, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We would love to ask a few questions. So, first question I would love to ask you, Mari, is can you share your potential journey and what inspired you to create your company, Rocket 50?
Okay. Um, it's funny we're talking about retirement because some people would think that I'm 63. I turned 63 this year and or recently, um, and some people would say that that's retirement age, right? Um, or at least in a lot of Western worlds it would be 65, but in many places in the world it's anywhere between 55 and 65, and that's normally what you would call retirement. Um, but I just didn't feel like I was ready to stop contributing to the world. Like I feel like I've learned so much over the world, over my life, and I have so much expertise, and I wanted to keep going. And also, I noticed that a lot of people around me also wanted to keep going, but they felt like they couldn't because of their age. And so we created Rocket 50 as a resource for people over the age of 50, 60, and 70 that want to keep going. We wanted to create inspiration for people by sharing other people's stories, wanted to create a community, wanted to create some tools to help people get a job. I mean, a lot of people need to keep working. Like, most of us can't just stop working because we reach a certain age.
Mhm.
And also because we're going to live a long time, even if you have some money, socked away, it's probably not going to be enough. So
Mhm.
yeah, so we wanted to help people in that place, and that's why we founded Rocket 50.
Oh, that's really interesting. I love the idea. It's especially in a world where a lot of people don't understand how it feels like to be in a certain level. It's interesting what you're creating is really beautiful. So especially in the world we live in today, a lot of people just from when we're young, we're trained from the university, into the world, the employment world, and then we start to look for jobs and all that. So a lot of people never really have the time to navigate their lives. Now, most people after their retirement, they have to fall back to almost start afresh. So I want to know, what challenges do you think seniors face when transitioning from their primary careers into retirement? What kind of challenges do you think they face?
Well, I think for a lot of people, including myself, I would say the first challenge is getting over the number. So, you might be a certain age, but you have to stop thinking about that. Like I remember when my grandparents were in their 60s. I mean, my age now. And to me, that was always the age of grandparents. You know, like when you're in your 60s, you're supposed to be, just playing with your grandkids, and like
Yeah.
if you're a woman, you're supposed to be cooking for your grandkids, and if you're a man, you're supposed to be playing, with your kids, and sort of
Or all.
working in the garden or whatever. But this is an old image that we all have in our minds, and I think that's the first challenge is to get over the age. The second thing is if you had a job that you didn't like or you don't want to do anymore, it's reframing what you can do. I think
Mm,
sometimes a lot of people don't have any ideas for what they can do. Um, they just think about the fact that they had, a certain kind of job all those years, and now they don't really know how that translates into something new. And so you need to take some time, on our platform, for instance, we offer self-assessment tools or there's lots of exercises on the internet that you can take to really kind of discover what your purpose is, what your talents are, what are the things that you really got a lot of satisfaction from doing, no matter what job you had, and then thinking about how that translates into something new. Or if you had a job that you love, but you're retiring, how can you reshape that to do something else? I was in HR for many, many years, and you could say that would be the thing, why would you start a platform? But the thing that I really loved was the people part, so I took the people part out of my former job and put it into my new job, which is still doing something for people. So it's finding that two or three things that you really love, and then thinking about what you could do next that uses those skills and knowledge, I would say.
mm. Okay, that's interesting. And I admire how you were able to take a skill out of your primary job and then put it into something new. That's really beautiful. I wish a lot of people can learn how to do this. So my next question for you would be the word retirement. Of course, there is a stigma to any word that is attached to something big like retirement, and there are just a lot. There are just a few things that when you say these things, people get scared, like retirement, old age, just a few things like this. And so there was a stereotype to the word retirement, how people saw this word. So I want to know from you, how would you want to redefine the word retirement according to the word we're living today? How would you want to redefine retirement? How would you want people to see and perceive the word retirement?
Well, I would say instead of saying retirement, you might say something like rewirement, or,
I like that.
or the encore phase of your life. Or, there's lots of people have put things out there, kind of renaming it. And I would say more like rewirement, like, just rethink your life at that stage. You said something really important earlier. You said we're so programmed in our lives, you go to school, you get a job, and then you stay at that job until, well, either you get another one or you get fired, you have to get another one, and then you stay there and then you leave again, and then you
Mhm.
retire. But
Yeah,
this is
circle.
a completely false narrative in
Mm,
today's world, because we live much longer than we ever did before. And so even if you start retirement at age, so-called retirement at age 65, there's a good chance that for 30 years you'll be living in this state. Um, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for you, for your brain, for your body, economically, for governments, for societies, for people to just kind of stop working for 30 years. So I think it just needs to be redefined as a new phase of life. And I think it's our generation right now that needs to redefine that, like by doing new things and starting new things. I mean, my own mother, she retired at 65, and then she started doing other things. I mean, she and her husband, they started buying some small properties, and then they
okay.
bought some more small properties, and then the next thing you know, they were kind of in the property business, which
Just like
which they
that.
still do in their 80s now. Yeah. So
It's
um,
mind blowing.
well, when you do new stuff, it keeps your brain alive. So
Hmm.
it's just a physiological thing that when you try new things, your brain, develops new neurons and new synapses, and the brain continues to grow, actually. But if you don't do anything, then the brain stops growing and it starts becoming, hard coded or encrusted. And then what happens is you start to get fearful and scared of trying new things. And so
Mm,
the world gets smaller and smaller. So it's really important to try new things, even if that means just moving to a new place, or taking up a hobby that you never had before, or meeting
mm,
people, new people. It's really
mm.
important to keep stimulation, keep your brain stimulated.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And you mentioned something very important earlier. You mentioned how you took a skill from your primary job and then you brought it onto your company, which you now run. So I want to know, what are some effective strategies that you think seniors, I mean, experienced individuals, what are some effective strategies they can use to identify their strengths and interests after retirement?
Well, there's a lot of websites that offer free tests. I mean, if you go into Google and you type in free assessment test, there's a lot of tests out there. And, there's one site called truity.com that you can go to, and they offer 16 different tests, and then you can pay for a report. The report's maybe $25 or something, but it's available worldwide. And if you take some tests, it'll help you to think about things that you haven't thought about before, like things about what's important to you, like, what are what are the things that motivate you? What are the things that make you happy? It's really how you feel. Like, even if you don't take a test, you can just take out a piece of paper and you can think back over your life, and what are the things that you really love doing. What are the things that gave you happiness and made you feel really good, and just make a list, like what were you doing, like leading a group or creating something, or you were really good at projects, or you were really good at talking to young people, or what were the things that really gave you a really good feeling? And
Mm-hmm.
and maybe on one side of the list, and then on the other side of the list, make a list of all the things that you didn't like doing. Like
Mm,
you didn't like it when you were stuck behind a computer all day long and you had no people, or you didn't like it when you had to call people on the phone that you didn't know, or just think about the things that you really like and didn't like. And then when you think about what to do next, start to do research. I mean, nowadays we have, everybody has Google or some kind of AI thing or whatever. You can just type in, what are the jobs I could do uh, with these skills, or what are the things I could do with these, and then just see what it tells you. um,
mm.
and you can start to think about what you might do. Even just thinking about it is good for your brain. Yeah.
I agree. Letting your brain function actually is really good at any age. And okay, that's really great. But also we also understand there where some seniors are referred to as digital aliens.
Mm,
Okay. So it's like they're aliens to this new world of technology. And for a lot of people, learning how to use new things like computers and all these new things is like feels like a whole new process. For some people, it's like learning how to walk afresh. For some of them, it's like learning a whole new language, and they don't want to just do that whole stressful thing. So um, I know it's almost impossible to do, but what advice or what suggestions could you make to a person or to seniors on how to leverage their existing skills, especially to fit into the world that we live in today?
well, I know it feels, for a lot of people, it feels super overwhelming thinking about all this stuff to do with AI and Chat GPT. I mean, everybody keeps hearing about it, but doesn't really know about it. And I think it's important to just start reading about it, like try to understand it, you know, just try to understand it. I mean, I didn't know anything about Chat GPT or AI or whatever, but when it came out, I just started playing with it. Like I went online right away to see what it was, and I read about it, and then I just started, kind of playing with it really, like writing in some questions. I mean, you can even write in recipes, like how to bake an apple pie. It tells you how to make a pie, or um, how to set up a garden, herb garden or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be business minded. It can be really like a hobby, and
Hmm.
you can just type it in and then see what it tells you, and start learning it in little steps like that. Like, you don't have to understand how it works. I think a lot of people think, oh my God, I'm not a technology person, I could never understand all that. But it's just like, your car. Like, you don't know anything about your car, but you drive it, right? Like,
Hmm.
like, you don't understand what makes a car work, or at least I don't understand what makes a car
But
work. But but I still
okay.
drive it every day. Like I go places with it. And I think it's a little bit like that. Like, don't think that you have to be a technology expert. Um, just try it out like an average person, and you'll start to learn a little bit more. I think it's really important when we're older to keep challenging yourself. Like whatever you feel like you're afraid of, you need to kind of try to push through that. That's really important. Your brain can stay really healthy until you're in your 90s or even your
Hmm.
hundreds, but you've got to push your brain out of its comfort zone. You know, when we have jobs, it's easier to do because you have to do what the job tells you to do or what you need to do for the job. But when you're retired all of a sudden and you're just home a lot more, I think it's really important to step out of your comfort zone.
Okay, so I want to ask a question because I have a problem when I hear people who have a wealth of knowledge uh, almost write themselves off due to the stereotypes of society. For example, you have a conversation with a person and you hear them say something like, when they're having a conversation with their son or their daughter, you hear them make comments like, I've lived my life. It's your turn to live your life. It's almost as if they're saying, I'm done, you know? And when you have conversations with some of these people, you almost wonder, what are you done from? You still have a lot to offer. So, I don't know, what are some stereotypes that um, these experienced individuals have that might be stopping them from reaching their full potential that you feel they have to change in order to move forward? What are some stereotypes that you think society might have put in their minds that might be stopping them from reaching their full potentials?
I really understand that. I think that's something, like I said, I'm 63, and I think um, like I think every day, like you get dressed in the morning. Oh, is that right for my age or not? Like you start questioning what that age is, and I think it's because, like what I said before, we think of our parents and our grandparents, what it meant at their age. But it's different now. People are just healthier, they're living longer generally. And, people say a lot of times, oh, the 60s is the new 50, or the 50s the new
Yeah.
40. And I think that's true, and I think the challenge is to get over that. Like, even if you have aches and pains, or you don't feel as strong as you used to be, or, you're tired more often, or whatever, so there are some things that, of course, when we get older, but is just overcoming that, and the way to overcome it is to find something to be really excited about. Like, you have to find something in your life that you're passionate about. It's super important because if you're not passionate or you're not happy about something in your life, then you go to the negative side of things and you start to think about, oh, I'm old and the end of my life. And,
Mhm.
like this is really wrong. Studies show that people that retire, they sometimes when they first retire, they think, oh, I get to do everything I always wanted to do and I'm free. And they're looking forward to retirement. But
Yeah.
studies show that 5 years after retirement, people have done everything that they wanted to do or they're running out of money and they can't keep doing stuff that they want to do, and then they start watching TV all the time, and
Mm,
the whole usage of TV goes up because people are not doing anything anymore. And I think this is a negative loop, like we have to really read inspiring articles about people that are older. There are many people that started businesses in their 50s and 60s, and became really famous people. You know, I think it's
yeah.
important to read inspiring things, to read about people. I mean, to watch your series, for instance, to just
Hmm.
to get inspired by other people, and also to surround yourself with people who are excited about things in life. Like, don't put people in your life that are complaining all the time and just gossiping and talking about like nothing. Like, I think it's super important to put people in your life that are inspiring, and have lots of younger people in your life too, because they're also inspiring. um,
Yeah.
so don't surround yourself with like a bunch of old people that are like thinking they're old.
Mm, yeah. I agree with you, and I think it's beneficial for older people to associate with younger people, and likewise vice versa. Because just as much as it's beneficial for the older people, I don't like to call them older people. I wish I had beautiful. I would love to call them skilled individuals, as you call them. They are
Experience.
highly skilled people.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I call them experienced people.
Experienced people. I like that. So now I'm gonna stick to experienced people. So experienced individuals that we have, when they interact with younger people, they tend to rub off on them and make those people feel like, oh, yes, I think I'm more mature because I have this person who's more mature than me and is relating with me. So I think I'm more mature. And then you have the older person thinking, I think I'm younger because the younger person is relating with me like I'm. So I think it does this beautiful, it creates this wonderful synergy where it helps the younger person feel more mature in their minds. And then it helps the older person feel uh, younger. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
I agree.
Um,
It's actually a really natural thing. I mean, our societies throughout, millions of years, or, hundreds and thousands of years, survived because the older people passed the knowledge to the younger people. And, with the younger people knew where the watering hole was, or they knew how to survive. And the elders were considered, respected individuals, because they had this knowledge, and they were very helpful to younger people. And I think younger people who sit with older people, they learn a lot. They advance really quickly, because they combine wisdom with energy. And I think older people, I mean, I learned so much from younger people. I worked, when I first left my first big corporate job, or when I kind of retired, if you want to call it that, from my bigger corporate job. I started working as a consultant to young companies, young tech companies, and some of my clients were like in their 20s. And I was like old enough to be their grandma, right? But
yeah.
but it was really a great experience because I felt like I learned a lot from them too. Like I learned so much from young people because what they think about in today's world is different than what I might be thinking about. So I love
Mm,
to be with young people. It's amazing what you can learn from them.
yeah. Okay, so I want to ask you specifically, what resources does Rocket 50 provide to these experienced individuals to help them navigate their journey through rewirement, as you call it, rewirement. Yes.
Well, we have a lot of articles, so lots and lots of articles. We publish every week a new article about, something, advice or inspiration or something that helps people feel more positive about being older. And then we also have workbooks inside, inspired learning guides, we call them. And the workbooks are available to be downloaded, and you can go through the workbooks, you can read, and then like there's a self-assessment one, and there's other workbooks in there that you can just use as an exercise to kind of think about yourself. If you want to rebrand yourself, or you want to start a business, you want to become an entrepreneur, there are different things, or even retirement. Like we call retirement active retirement because we think actually that there's a lot of stuff to think about if you're going to retire successfully too. Like you can't just stop working and then think that's going to be successful. So I think that's, it's workbooks, it's articles. There are other people that you can talk to in the community, if you want to share ideas or things like that. I
Yeah.
think that that's really the main thing is offering some kind of inspiration.
Okay. So can you help with to clarify or to throw more light on some stereotypes that seniors might have as to stepping into a new work. I could call that a work environment because it's something new. What stereotypes do you think they have while stepping into a new work environment versus what is the actual thing that they should expect? So of course there's a stereotype, what they think for those who have never done it, and then what is the actual thing they should expect while actually getting into the workforce?
Well, it is, we also try to work with companies to help them hire experienced people as well, because companies also have a stereotype in their mind sometimes about older people. Like it is a truth that there's a ageism, and I think things are starting to change because workforces are starting to realize that there's not enough young people to fill all the jobs. There's a lot of reports out there from Manpower, or a big one by McKinsey recently, that talks about how companies can't find enough people. Um, so I think that, I'm not saying it's easy for an older person to get a job in a company, but the first thing you have to get over is in your own head about what you think your age means. Like if you are saying I'm too old, if you think you're too old, then the rest of the world will think you're too old. And so it's important to kind of let go of the years, of the number, the number that you are, and think about what you're good at and how to package yourself, in such a way that people can see what you're good at. Like there are
Yeah.
techniques. I mean, we write about that in Rocket 50, techniques for writing a resume or CV, techniques for interviewing, um, techniques for networking. I mean, most experienced people are more successful in finding a job through networking. So uh,
Mm,
it means not like going to a job board and applying. Um, Going to a job application process is not good, not really good for anybody at any age. I mean, it's hard to get a job that way. But when we, as older people, feel like we don't get a response, or people ghost us, or we think it's because of our age. Actually, everybody has
mm,
the same experience, but um,
true.
it's more important to talk to people and see about things that you could do, to talk, just to find out if there's an opening or something you might do part-time, or you might do it, as a independent person,
Yeah.
just doing a project or
Mm.
something. But just talk to people. in your
Yeah.
world.
You mentioned something very important. You mentioned networking. So I want to ask you, can you can you give more insight about how seniors or experienced individuals might go about networking and probably what kind of steps they can take, what kind of places? Because a lot of people are, sadly, a lot of people have been stuck in one position mentally for a long time and don't even know where to go. It's like putting a fish on land and telling it run. That's how a lot of people feel like. So, just to know if there's something or a few things or a few ways they can adjust themselves or what things they can do to network or how they can actually network.
Well, first, I'd just like to say to everybody that networking is probably one of the hardest things for everybody. I mean, I know very few people that think networking is fun. You know, it's really hard to do. I mean, nobody wants to do it. But interestingly enough, it's the way most people get jobs. I mean, if you think back on your own jobs that you had in life, most of those jobs came from someone you knew. Someone told you about something, or or you met somebody somewhere. Um, but we tend to forget that when we're looking for a job, and then we start applying for jobs, that we see online or in newspapers or wherever we see, things, and that's really demoralizing and makes you feel super depressed. So, the easiest way to think about networking is to stop calling it networking. I
Mm-hmm.
think of it as getting information. Like I like to say informational interviewing, like like
Yeah.
sort of like a little journey to discover what's going on in the world. And
Mhm.
think about people in your world that former colleagues or people that friends of your husband or wife or family members or other people that doing things that you think are interesting, and think about contacting them to spend a little bit of time talking about what they do, asking them what they do, thereby
Mhm.
learning about what's going on. If you've been in the same job for a long time or the same thing for many, many years, most likely you don't know everything about what's happening. And so I've been a career counselor for a long time, and I always tell people, make a list of the people you know and the people that your close friends or that your family knows, and contact them and just talk to them, ask them questions, reach out and say, hey, I'm doing some research and I would really love to know more about, and so recommended you, so think about
Mhm.
it like a research project, like I'm going to learn about what's happening in the world, and then go out and reach out to people and ask them questions about what they do, because most people love to talk about themselves. And so
Mhm.
when you ask them about what they do, then they'll talk and then they'll say, well, what are you doing? And then you talk about yourself, and it becomes a really nice exchange. But most importantly, you're now on that person's radar. Like they didn't know you before, maybe, and now they know you, and they know that you're a potential talent or a potential person that could do this or that, and the more informational interviewing that you do, then the more you're exposing your chances for finding something in what's called the hidden job market. So I just want to tell everybody in the audience here that 75% or 80% of all jobs are had in the hidden job market. They're not posted
Wow.
on a job board somewhere. They're actually sitting somewhere that nobody knows about because someone's leaving that no one knows they're leaving, or they're someone's sick, or somebody quit, or there's a lot of openings in companies that there's no job posting for. And nobody in HR wants to take out a job posting because it's such a long process. Take out a job posting, look at 10,000 CVs, like they would much rather have somebody come into their office and say, hey, I met this great person the other day. We should think about that person. Everybody wants that. So you really focus on that and you'll be much more successful.
That's very interesting, you know. That's really, really insightful. Yes, and just to add a little something to what you said, you mentioned something about changing the way you see things, and I completely agree because I remember reading something about Toyota. Toyota as a company were not so much accepted as the car in the United States. So they thought about what to do, and then they thought the name might just be the problem. So they changed the name, or like they rebranded and got another product, which is almost like exactly the same thing, but then they gave it a different name. And then the name felt like something luxurious, and then it's like Lexus. And that was more accepted, and then it was like nothing changed, was just the name, and the name got more accepted. So I agree with you. First, as an experienced individual, I think it's important for them to first rewire themselves, their minds, and then be able to see things differently before then you project it onto other people. So I think that's a really interesting thing about that. Thank you for mentioning that. And also, I would love for you to share some of your, what I call them, your wins or successes in the process of your company, starting your company up until this moment. Can you share some successes that you have had along the way, just
Um,
to give
in,
more confidence to the
in starting
seniors?
a company, well, I mean, it's definitely not easy to start a new company. Um, but I think, you learn a lot. So, I think that that's a success. I think to learn. I think no matter what you do, whether it's so-called successful or not, it's learning along the way and meeting lots of people. And I had to learn a lot of apps. I use a lot of apps to run the company. For banking, for accounting, for marketing, for communication. I mean, it's amazing, like all the apps that are out there. And I had to learn all that. And I'm so grateful for the chance to learn things. I feel like my brain is like double the size
And
because I
grateful to
started
you, of course.
learning.
And your brain is grateful to you for that, all that learning.
Yeah, and also you meet a lot of new people. I think that's also really important. Like, look at I met Myndlace. Like, I would have never met you guys if I wasn't doing what I was doing. And there's a lot of people doing amazing things in the world. And when you have a passion for something and you start reaching out in the world, then somehow you start meeting those people too. And I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of trying new things. I think to me that's what success is. Success is if it makes you feel really good, you know,
Mm.
even if it doesn't make a ton of money or it doesn't, whatever. There's something really satisfying about trying something new and kind of learning it and I mean I'm really good at all these apps now.
I
And
can tell
yeah,
from the way you're speaking about it. I can tell you're pretty comfortable.
yeah. Yeah, so I think it's worth it to try something, and don't worry about failure. I think failure, I think, one good thing about being older or being in this phase of life is we kind of, been around the block, like we don't need to worry about are we going to be, where our career is going or we don't have to play politics or we don't have to do a lot of things that we used to do when we're younger because we just know better and
Mhm.
we have a much better perspective, I think. And when you start a business or a new job or a new hobby when you're older, it's a much more beautiful thing because you don't have as much anxiety as when we're younger, I think.
You're much more intentional, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good word, intentional.
Okay. And okay, so also you shared some of the beautiful things, and of course everyone loves to hear the beautiful things. And I think that's really amazing. But social media does this wonderful thing. Well, we are social media because we do what we do on social media. I mean, people, of course, but on social media, it is very difficult to see or hear a person speak about their hard times. It's almost like everyone just wants to show you their big wins and their successes. And it's almost like they're waiting through the process and going through the process. And once you get a win, you put it out there and people are like, ah, he's winning and here I am. So I want you to share with us some of the downtimes and the hard moments you have had with Rocket 50 and how you were able to pull through and keep going.
Yeah, that's really great what you just said because it's true that we only hear about the success stories, which are actually something like 5%. I mean, when people start new businesses, I think something like, you know, 80% of them go out of business, 50% in the first 2 years and the next 5 years, another 80%. It's actually in reality, it's not the perfect story. And actually, if you look at companies also like big ones like Airbnb and Facebook, and those companies also had a lot of failures in the beginning. And they even changed their names and they changed their products to eventually find success. And but you don't hear about that. You just hear about the end thing. And with Rocket 50, we've gone through a lot of changes in our focus. And in fact, by the end of this year, we're going to make another big change. Um, and so, for those of you that are on our platform, you will know that we will be changing our platform onto a different platform in the new year. And you have to make a lot of changes, because early ideas sometimes just don't work out. Like I have never lost my passion and my mission for doing what I'm doing, and the new platform will also be all about supporting people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that'll still be there, but it'll be a different format. Because sometimes you realize that the old format is not successful, so you have to change it. And so you have to be willing to make a lot of changes. And
Mhm.
I read a lot about other companies, other startups, and many of them made changes. They changed their name, they changed the platforms they were on, they changed their focus. I mean, Airbnb didn't used to be what it was. I think it used to have, I don't know, used to sell rooms or something like just rooms and houses, or even Facebook was something else before. And so, don't think that you're going to have like this unicorn success, just because you're trying something new. It's much more realistic that you're going to learn a lot. You're going to make a lot of changes. You might change your name, you might change your product or your service, but you just have to keep going. And there was this one thing on social media that I really loved where the guy said, it's not about how brilliant your product is, it's about your ability to persevere, your ability to keep going no matter what. And I would say that that's really the key element. Like you, when you know what your passion is and you know what's important, you keep focusing on that, and you might change other things around it, but just keep going. Like don't, and expect that you're going to have down days and up days. And it's not easy. Sometimes you think you're going to quit or you don't want to do it anymore, and then the next day you're excited again. So it's really not a journey that's like that. It's really
Uh, it's more like this. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You just expect it to be like that, and when it happens, you'll go, "Oh yeah, that's what she was talking about."
I agree. I agree. All right. So, what advice would you give to seniors who are looking to transition into a new job? What advice would you give to seniors who are looking to transition into a new job? And also, what advice would you give to companies, people, or entities who I don't think seniors, or I'm using the word seniors, please. I just okay, but yeah, what advice can you give to companies or entities or people who in their minds have seniors as have stereotyped seniors in their minds and think of them as, okay, yeah, they're done and they have nothing to offer? What advice can you give to these two sets of people respectively? Seniors looking to transition into another job, and also companies and entities who may have stereotyped these people in their minds, something like that. So can
For
you?
people, so on Rocket 50 on our platform right now, we have a job search guide that's free and that teaches you all of the steps of the process. And when we change over to our new platform, it's still going to be the same thing. We're going to have all of our stuff on there. So don't worry, it's not going anywhere.
Mm,
But learn how to do a successful job search. Don't think that it's just applying for jobs. The first step is make sure that you're clear about yourself.
mm,
Just do enough self-examination to know what you're good at, and
mm,
write a CV, resume, or whatever you want to, wherever you are in the world, CV or resume. Um, a CV and a resume is not a piece of paper that talks about your entire life. Nobody wants to know about your entire life. A CV or a resume should be a piece of paper that tells someone else why you're good at something.
mm.
And so
I like that.
you may have two or three different ones depending on what you're applying for. But
Wow.
you need to write your CV for the person, for the job that you want next, you know,
Mm,
and you don't need to put 40 years of experience on there. You don't. You put about maybe 20 years of experience on there, is enough, or 50, 15, 20 years is enough. And be really crisp, like read about how to write a good one, like a good, just real fast, a good CV shows the companies that you work for and what you achieved at those companies. And what you achieved shouldn't be 10,000 things. It should just be six or seven things. So write a really crisp CV. That's really important. And think about your audience when you're writing it. And then the next thing is you have to go out and network. Sorry, but that's the way you're going to get your next job. You're not going to get that job by applying. It's a terrible process. It's demoralizing, and it's not going to make you feel good about yourself. So go out and talk to people or call the companies directly that you think you'd like to work for and talk to them. And stop thinking about your age. Just think about what you're good at. Focus on what you're good at and write a resume and talk about, and what you talk about to people, talk about what you're good at, and never talk about the bad things, or never say bad things about other people in an interview. Always talk about what you're good at and why someone should hire you. So positive stuff. On the company side, companies need to get over their own biases and stereotypes about older people. Older people have a lot to offer. Research shows that older people are more committed, they're more dedicated, they have less sick time, they're more focused on their work than young people. Young people nowadays, they don't stay at a company very long. They flit around, they're not focused, and they're not going to stay at your company for the next 10 years. So if you're allocating all your dollars to training young people, good luck with that, because those people are going to stay with you about 2 years and then they're gone.
wow.
So focus your training dollars on your seniors or your older people. They have a lot to offer in your company. And so think about the ones you have and how to make them even better at what they're doing. And think about hiring older people. I mean, just mix it up a bit, hire older people, hire younger people, and then supply training on intergenerational power. There is a lot of power in intergenerational teams and diverse teams. Focus on
I agree.
this, companies, and stop with this ageism business. Not all old people are stereotypical what you think they are, sort of grumpy old people. This is what they think: grumpy old people that are not good with tech and not good with change. It's a really outdated stereotype that really needs to be worked on, you know.
Yeah.
And if you do have people in your company that are grumpy and not open to change, think about the last time you offered them training or the last time you acknowledged what they have to offer, you know. It's a lot of companies that make people old and grumpy, I think.
Yeah.
um,
True, true.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And just why I mention companies, entities, or individuals is because I remember I was watching a video on YouTube and I got offended because of something I heard. So it was a young man and he was talking about something and he said he was referring to a celebrity and he compared her terrible attitude to a senior trying to learn new skills. And I was like, why would you do that? And in his mind, this is someone who was trying to condemn her attitude. And then you're doing that by condemning a whole people. Like this is not even fair, you know? So, I mean, there's a lot, I think a lot of people have to recalibrate their entire thinking and understand that you're gonna be that person one day. I
Mm,
mean, we have to accept it. So, and understand that your skills don't just magically go away. And I think this
exactly.
is something that we have to look into as a people.
Exactly. We have to look at our biases. You know, it's just time. You know, like there was a lot of effort. You know, in companies. You know, that in D&I diversity inclusion stuff, but they never thought about age. Like they never realized all the ageism that was happening also in companies. And I think that's something that, you know, when the world is getting older, you know, in Germany, for instance, one in every fourth person is over 60 in Germany. One in every fourth person, more people over 60 than under 30. And you know there are many other. If you look at Japan and Italy and Spain, and you know you look all over the whole world, it's older and older people, and so the older people are the workforce. You know, hello, older people are your workforce. So
So
people have to look at that now. It's really an imperative that companies and governments and societies really look at changing their attitude. You know, it's not the world that we lived in 75 years ago where there was an internal youth fountain of people. That's just not the case.
uh, okay, so I want to ask you, how can interested people or interested skilled individuals, I'm talking about seniors, how can they get involved with Rocket 50 if they wanted to, and how can they navigate their way through your platform?
Well, Rocket 50 is basically free for the most part. I mean, you can have a membership, but as I said, we're going to be changing the platform to another platform, and so, but it's free. It's basically free. So, you know, if you're watching this, go on and see what you like, and you know, you can download. You know, you can read the articles. You can download the workbooks. The best asset we have is our workbooks right now, and they're all kind of downloadable PDFs, and they're called inspired learning guides. And there's about 25 of them in there. You can go in, you can access them, and you can download them for free. So it's my gift to all of you. Just go in
Thank you very
and,
much.
and take advantage of them and go through them, read them, and you know do some self-assessment, find out what you love, and find the thing in life that you love. And
Mm,
I think that's the best way to get over ageism, you know, is or to get over your own self ageism. I think we're kind of like ageism against ourselves.
mhm,
By saying that we're old or too old or
yeah,
limiting ourselves, our own horizons, we're really kind of doing something against ourselves. So get over your age is
true,
what I have to
true,
say.
true. That's real talk. Get over your age. I think I'm gonna make a t-shirt that says "Get over your age. You're not old." I'll probably make a t-shirt that says that and I'll wear it. Okay, so we have a few interesting questions from some seniors from our community. So I have a question, I'm gonna read it. So someone said, I just clocked 50 and I was specifically drawn to Mary Jerusalem story you shared on your page. I love what her company is helping people do, and I just wanted to ask if there are companies or industries that actively recruit seniors. So that's a question from Lady
Well,
Mrs.
I
Mama.
mean,
Yeah.
it's a good question. I mean, w- I'm on in 2025. I'm going to be on a very new mission, which is to work with companies. So this is the change that Rocket 50 is making. We recognize that there are a lot of people out there, but we realize that there are a lot of people looking for jobs, but we recognize too that companies must change their attitudes. And so I'm going to be more focused on going after companies worldwide and getting them to align with us and to give us their jobs. And because I want to be the place where people that are companies that are enlightened are going to hire seniors, and they're going to give us their jobs, and we're going to post them on our platform. And it's not going to be a huge job board like we have right now. Right now we have a huge job board with all jobs. Our job board in the future is going to be from companies that want to hire people over 50. And those companies that give us their jobs, we're going to advertise them. We're going to write about them. We're going to do a lot of marketing for them to tell the world how great they are, because we want to get those companies. And I know there are some companies out there now, but um, and I think you can find some of them, like, if you go to some other sites, like there are already companies that are doing this kind of work, and they're called age-friendly companies. If you were to type in Google age-friendly companies, you could probably find those. I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but that's my new mission in 2025, to go and
Wow,
find those companies and to put them on Rocket 50.
that's interesting. Well, I love what you're doing. That's really mind-blowing. You're
Yeah, I
encouraging a lot
really
of people.
I mean, you guys have to watch our space, because this is why we're making the change to a new platform, because we want to be a platform that companies can put their jobs on, and we can get those jobs. And so that everybody
Mhm.
can go to Rocket 50 and know that the jobs that are on our site are coming from companies that really care about hiring people over 50.
Oh, that's beautiful. And we have a whole community of seniors, so we're gonna look forward to having many collaborations with you in the future. Can't wait.
Yeah, well, we
Okay.
can go after companies in your area too, and put them
Yeah,
on.
of course.
Yep.
There
Yep.
we can do a lot of beautiful things together. So I have one more question before we call it a day. We've had a wonderful time with you. So I'm just gonna ask one more question. So this is from a person who's looking to be proactive, I would call it that. Because the person says, I'm a bit far from retirement. I have about 5 years to retirement. But your post about this program got me thinking seriously about my retirement. Are there resources for seniors looking to retain or upgrade their skills? Probably on your platform or anywhere you could suggest for this person to get resources is there.
There are a few companies out there. Oh gosh, I knew I can definitely send them after this call. But
Oh,
there are definitely some platforms. There's a couple of them. I can't think of it right now off the top of my head, but there's actually a big one that is really focused on people over 50 for retraining. And they have thousands and thousands of teachers and trainers on the site, and for free and or for very little money, you can
oh,
get training on thousands of things. And it's a site that the whole purpose of this website is to provide education and training. Actually, not just for 50 plus, but they also have a lot for 50 plus. And what I can do is I will send it to, I'll put two or three ideas down, and I'll send it back. And
yeah.
so you guys can post them. But there are lots of things on the internet for training. It's really good to upgrade. You can get certificates, you can get trainings, you can get all sorts of things that you can put on your CV, to say that you're getting training. I think that's something really important.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Plus, we have an application where we look to foster networking amongst senior citizens. So we'd love to see that in the near future, maybe have collaborations with you, help them network and get to work a lot with Rocket 50. I believe a lot of beautiful collaborations will come in the future. Plus,
Can I just say what I think Myndlace is doing by connecting people is super important because I think the number one thing is to be connected. Like we need to connect ourselves with like-minded people. Super important. And
I agree.
if people are not like you, they're not feeling, if your people in your world are thinking that 60s and 70s is old and that you can't do anything anymore, then you need to have a new group of people around you.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. All right. Thank you very much, Marie Jerusalem. It has been an excellent, wonderful 1 hour that I don't regret at all. I loved every minute of it. Plus, I've only got one problem. It is, I've been looking at you since, and you say you're over 60. I might have to ask you what your secret is after this, because I want to know what it is. I really want to look like you when I'm your age. I mean, it is admirable.
Yeah, well,
Very.
a little bit's genetics. So don't forget, sometimes
Ah,
we're lucky
genetics.
genetically, and other times good skincare helps.
Yeah. You're lucky they don't sell
Thank you.
genetics. Your genetics will be worth millions in the market. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I really
We're
like
we
being
are
part of
very
my
happy
life.
that you honored our invitation. Thank you very much. And everyone, thank you very much. See you guys on the next one. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.